Good evening, guys. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a question from Sissy stating that is JDK and JRE same. I hope Sissy is not understood. Okay. This question might be relevant for you also. JDK and JRE is not same. Okay, because this is the question that she is asking. And she says that her system has JDK 8U121 Windows 64. That will work too, right? So for all of you, first of all, JDK and JRE is not same. JRE specifically needed to run your Java programs. JDK will be needed to develop your Java codes and also use it for integrating, Eclipse with third-party APIs. And for example, if you have JDK installed, okay, I want you guys to uninstall JDK, first install JRE. Okay, and then later we will see how to install JDK. Okay, if you have JDK in your machine, okay, got to uninstall that and then first install JRE, and then we'll see later on. We'll also install JDK later on when it is needed. So I hope that question is, which is asked by Sissy, is answered. But anyways, I will put my feedback on this on the blog. The question from Prem stating that can you please point me to the link where I can go through the basic Java concepts and codes so that I can brush up some of them before and get prepared for this session. Okay, what I will do for this particular part is that I have a PPT and whenever I finish up a session, I put the files, these live session files or codes that I create. Apart from that, I'm going to put up PPTs with respect to the topics that I'm going to take for the next day. So that's going to help you out. I believe that's more than enough for you, because don't go too much into into understanding stuff. Yes, for the next day, whatever sessions I'll be taking, I will put those PPT beforehand. Does that answer you, Prem?
Yeah, Kaushik, I'm good with that.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. So let's start with today's session. So I'm going to basically take up certain things today. I want to finish it up. I don't know how much I will be, because I want to go a bit slow because a lot of people are learning it for the first time. So my agenda for today will be a couple of things. Tell you about the different other data types which are present apart from integer. I'll also like to tell you about the difference between the println and the print command. What is the difference? That particular agenda is there. The third agenda is that to tell you about the concatenation operator and where the concatenation operator is used. And the fourth agenda will be to take care of your comparative operators. And the fifth one will be your condition statements. That's the agenda for me today. And let's see what I can complete, because it depends completely on the pace at which we are going. And I want to have a slow pace at this point of time. So let's create a new project again. So I'll call this as session number 2. And I click on finish directly. And say no to the perspective change. I do not want to actually change the theme of my Eclipse ID right now. So that's the session 2 project. And inside the source file, I'll highlight and right click and create a class file. And before I create a class file, it's always good that I also give the package name out here. I'll call this as data types. And I'll call this as other data types as the class name. Call the main method and click on finish. Okay. So yesterday we saw the integer data type. So we're going to see right now the long data types. Let's go around with that. Long data type. Now you would like to know the difference between long and integer. So let us first understand the similarities. Similarities is that long and integer Data types can take only whole numbers first. And if you want to understand the differences, integer can take only 32 bits of data, and long can take I will not say only, I will say up to. And long can take up to 64 bits of data. So what do you mean by this bits? I believe you know it. Computer only understands the binary language, that is 0 and 1 at the very lowest level. Okay. So whatever data that you put to a particular variable defined with an integer data type or a long data type, that data will be converted to a binary format. Okay. And if you are defining a variable as an integer data type, the binary format for variable should be up to 32 bits. That means zeros and 1 up to 32 bits. So if you divide 32 bits by 8, you get number of bytes. So that means if you divide this 32 by 8, it can take up to 4 bytes of data. Okay. And if you look at the long part, long can take up to 64 bits. So that means zeros and ones, which is equal to 64. Divide by 8, it can take up to 8 bytes of data. That is the difference. Okay, so if you want an application having a variable which should contain up to 64 bits, and you think it's a huge number by itself, put it to a long data type. Do not put it to a integer. And if you think that the number of bits for a variable value will be up to 32 bits, you can put it to an integer data type. I'll give you a simple analysis out here. int, for example, a is equal to this value. Now, if you see there's a red underline out here. Over your mouse, over this big cross sign that you see, red cross sign, it tells you that if you just expand this particular window, it tells you that the literal value of type integer is out of range. Out of range, that means what? It is becoming the conversion of this number to a binary format is getting out of 32 bits range. That is what it is trying to say. And if you keep on reducing this, at certain point of time, you will see that it gets accepted. You see, until here it is getting accepted. If you put one more 9, it's still getting accepted. One more 9, you will have a problem. Okay, so that means that this value turns to a 32-bit or a binary format, and after turning it to a binary format, if it is more than 32 bits, it will give you this kind of error. So let's comment this now. Now, if you do not know how to convert, a whole number to a binary format, there are a lot of stuffs which are given out in Google. You can just go to Google out here, and you can just write down convert from decimal to binary. So you can see it out here, binary converter. You can give a value, for example, 99999, convert it. It turns to the binary format. Okay. This is how it is done. What you actually do is that you have to divide it by 2. That is what happens. How to convert, you can look at this particular aspect also. It will give you a comparative analysis of how it is done. So you see it is dividing itself by 2. So this particular is decimal number 156, which is divided by 2, and you get 78, and the remainder is 0. You can see that. And further analysis, 278, remainder is 0. Then again divide 78 by 2, the remainder is again 0. Again divide 39 by 2, the remainder is 1. Again divide 19 by 2, remainder is 1. And again divide 9 by 2, the remainder is 1, you can see this. Okay, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2, remainder is 0. 2 ones are 2, remainder is 0, and then the last remainder is 1. So what you need to do is that you have to calculate the binary from down to up. So the binary format for 156 is 100111100. So this is done directly by the computer. You don't have to worry about that. Okay. So that is what it is telling you also. So when you actually calculate the binary format, it have to go from down to up. That is why the arrow is pointing towards up. So that means the value of 156 is this particular value. Okay, that's done directly by the computer compiler. We don't have to worry about that. So that is what happens when you give a value which becomes, if it becomes more than 32 bits for an integer, it's going to show you this kind of a problem stating that the range is getting out of the scope of integer. So let's go forward with long right now. So let's speak about long. So let's define a variable long b is equal to, I take whole number, so I can put any number to it. For example, I take 20. Okay, let's say I have an integer a, integer c for example, which is equal to 30. Okay, now let's look at, I would like to add b plus c and put it to an integer variable. That means I need to add up b, which is in your long format, add it to c, which is an integer format, and the resultant value, I want to put it to an integer. And integer, for example, d. Will that be accepted? Now look at this particular aspect. It is not getting accepted. Simple reason is that when you add integer with a long, the resultant value will be long, and since the resultant value is long, you got to put it to a variable which should be of long data type. So you can go to this particular syntax array and see what is the result or other message thrown by the compiler. It says that type mismatch. It says type mismatch cannot convert from long to int, because this value when you have added is nothing but you have added what? You've added actually long to integer. And the resultant value will be long. Okay, and you have put it to a variable d which is an integer format. So that is why the type mismatch message comes stating that your resultant value is long and you have put it to a variable which is of integer format. Okay, now why it should be long? That is the next question. Why long? Simple understanding. If you look at the hierarchy, just understand this particular rule. Rule is that it depends on the hierarchy. Now the hierarchy of integer is lower than the hierarchy of long. So whenever you add a lower level hierarchy with an upper level hierarchy, the resultant value will be an upper level hierarchy. So that is why when you add an integer value to a long, the resultant value will be long, because long is at the greater hierarchy. So that is why the resultant value of adding a long to integer will be always long, and that is why you get a syntax error like this. So I'm just going to write down the resultant value will be long as long is at a higher hierarchy than integer. And that's a rule. So whichever is at the highest hierarchy, the resultant value will turn to that particular format. Okay. So the same thing if I do. So let's comment this so that you can understand it and do your own kind of research by uncommenting this when I send you this particular file. And with the same thing, for example, I put long E is equal to D plus C, it will not have any kind of problem, because the resultant value is long, and that is what you have put out here. So it is equal to B plus C, sorry. That's accepted, and then I can print out the value of it. So the resultant value of the variable E is, concatenate this with E. So this is in your string format because you have given this within double quotes. So this will be printed out as it is in the console plus the variable E's value. That's going to be your 30 plus 20, that is equal to 50. So if you save this class file and run it, you're going to get the result as 50. Okay. And for example, next thing, long cannot take real numbers. Real number means, if you understand what is the real number, a decimal part. Okay. Real numbers like integer. I can just ask integer data type. Okay. So when you declare the value, you have to declare it in your, if you try to declare it, let's say 30.12, it is going to show you a syntax error. And what is the syntax error? Simple. Whenever you declare a real number with a decimal sign and follow it up with a number of digits, it might be 2, 3, 4, or 5, whatever it is, this is considered by the compiler as a double format. The moment you put a decimal out here, this is considered as a double format. So the compiler will say that cannot convert from double to long. That is the message that you will get. You can see type mismatch. I'll just increase this particular box. It says that type mismatch cannot convert from double to long. The moment you put a decimal number out here, whether it is a long integer or a long data type or an integer data type, you put a decimal, it will tell you that it is in double format. The compiler will take this as a double format and say that you cannot put a double value to a long data type, or you cannot put a double value to an integer data type if it is integer out here. Okay, so let's comment this also. And so that's the story about long, because it's pretty very simple. We don't want to understand too much about long. When the time comes, I will tell you that when I add a combination of numbers, which is in integer format and long and your double and your float, what is the resultant value? We'll see that later on. Let's first understand the data types first. So next is your float data type. Okay, there's certain rules of float. Okay, float value, variable value declaration should be in whole number format. So what I'm saying is that the variable value declaration that you do should be in whole number format, but the value stored in the memory will be in decimal format, and that's why the result in console will be in decimal format, or will be with decimal. I would say like that. So when you declare the value of a variable which is a float data type variable, you should declare it in whole number format, but the value that will be stored, but the value stored in the memory will be in decimal. Okay, not format, I'll say. And that's why the result in the console will be in decimal. Okay, that is the first rule that you need to follow. Second is that float can take up to 32 bits of data. It can take up to 32 bits of data. Okay, and the keyword used and the keyword is used will be float. So we'll see that. So if you look at integer long, right now these are in red color, that means these are reserved keywords. Okay, so that means float also will be a reserved keyword, FLOAT. Float, let's say F is equal to, the first thing that I want to show you is that if I declare the value, okay, in real format or with decimal, I would like to say, okay, what happens? So it will show you a syntax error. Let's say I define it as 34.98. Immediately you will get a syntax error from the compiler, because compiler understands that whatever you put in decimal, okay, in the IDE or while you're declaring the value, okay, this will be taken by the compiler as double. Immediately this will be taken by the compiler as double. That is why when you are declaring the values for long or int or float with a decimal part, it will be always taken by the compiler as double. So if you look at the syntax error out here, it will tell you that type mismatch again cannot convert from double to float. Just look at this. I'll expand this so that you can look at this. It says type mismatch cannot convert from double to float. So that is why please remember a particular thing: for integer, long, double, the value declaration of the variable should be in whole number. Okay. For float also you will put it in whole number format, but when it is stored in the memory, okay, for float specifically, when it is stored in the memory, it will be stored in decimal part. So that is why when you get the result in the console, you will see in decimal part. So at this point of time, this is considered by compiler when declaring the value in as a double. So you cannot put a double value to a variable f which is in float format. Okay, so I'm going to comment this. This is nothing but a situation where keeping a double value to a float variable. I'm just going to comment this for your reference. And I'm going to put this comment out here also. Keeping a double value to a long variable. And I think for integer we have done that. Okay, so how do you declare? So you declare it with FLOAT. So G is equal to 34. That's what I can do, nothing else. This will be accepted. That means this is accepted format for a float declaration, float variable declaration. Okay, now as I told you, this will be stored in the computer memory in the decimal format. So it will be stored as 34.0. And that is why when you get the result of G in the console, it will be showing you as 34.0. So let's look at the console result. Sys out. Write down the value of the float variable G is G out here. So I'll get the value in the console as 34.0. So let's run this. You see that? This is how it is stored in the memory, and that is why in the console when you get the result of the float variable, you'll always get in this particular part as a decimal number. Okay, so the next question is that let's have a variable, let's say float h. I'll add G, variable G, which is in float format. Add it with a long, let's take a B. Okay, so B. Add it with an integer. Let's take C, which is equal to 30. Now, so what I'm doing, I'm basically adding a float to a long. This will be actually not 30, this will be C. To a long and adding it with the integer. So what do you expect as a resultant value? Okay, the resultant value will be float. And that is why if you see it is accepting it. there's no syntax error. What is the reason? Reason is very simple. Reason is that hierarchy of float is greater than long and integer. Okay, so if you look at the hierarchy level will be float at the highest and is greater than, the hierarchy of float is greater than long, and the hierarchy of long is greater than integer. That is how you need to decipher. Okay, so that is why if you see out here, there's no syntax error or the compilation error is not there. And if I write down the value, print out the value of h, so the value of the variable h is h. So I will get the value as 34, excuse me. This will be 34.0 plus value of b, that will be equal to 20. So 54.0 plus c, which is equal to 30, that will be equal to 84.0. So I will get the value as 84.0 in the console of Eclipse. So let's save and run this. Okay, so that is why if I try to do something like this, I is equal to, for example, G plus B plus C, and put it to a integer data type, I will see that the syntax error will come as this is in float format. A float value cannot be put to a variable I, which is an integer format, and that is what you will get as the compilation error. Cannot convert from float to int. Okay, so this I am actually putting it like this. Similarly, if I have anything like this, for example, long j is equal to g plus b plus c. Okay, this will also not be accepted. It will tell you that type mismatch cannot convert from float to long. You can see this. So we are also understanding what are the data types, how will you declare the values of the data type, how it is stored in the memory, and when you add different data types, what should be the resultant value. So it absolutely depends. The resultant value will depend on the hierarchy level. Okay, so that's the story about float. It's pretty simple. You can understand it. So I will have a differentiation between the different data types. So for differentiation, so that you do not get confused looking at the codes, so I'll call this as float data type. So what will happen is this result will be thrown out as it is in the console. I'm just trying to differentiate the results so that you don't get confused looking at the codes. Similarly, I will just copy this and put the same thing out here. And call this as long. Similarly, I'm going to go out here and put something like this. This will be, for example, now double. So let's speak about double data type. Now, certain rules. Variable value declaration for double can be in whole numbers or real numbers. Real numbers means with the decimal part. Okay. Second of all, the value stored in the memory will be always in decimal, and so the result thrown in the console would be in decimal. Okay, and the third rule is that double can take up to 64 bits of data. whereas float can take up to 32 bits of data. Okay. Now, how do you declare double? With a reserved keyword, so double, and k is equal to, let's say, 42. This will be accepted by the computer. But when it is stored in the memory, it will be as 42.0. So that is why when you get the result in the console, it will be as 42.0 as the result thrown out in the console of Eclipse. Okay, so let's say I want to get the result. So of this particular variable k, so I can write down the value of the double var k is variable k. So if I save this particular file and run it, I will get the value as 42.0. And I've done a differentiation also, you can see that. So this is for long, these results are from float, and these results are for your double. So whatever differentiation I've given is coming like this. Okay. So now, so this is declared in, I'll write down, declared value is in whole number format, or is a whole number. Okay, similarly, I'll just copy this and paste it out here. Declared value is a real number. So I might have double L is equal to, let's say, 32.12. That's also accepted by the compiler. Okay, so when I throw the result in the console, so it is going to be stored in the memory as 32.12. When it throws in the result in the console, it will be 32.12. So I can just write down the value of the variable, of the double variable. L is L, and when I save the file and run it, sorry, this is L, not 1. I hope this is L. Yeah. So I had put this as 1. Variable L. So let's run this. Okay. And that's coming because I put this double quotes after L, sorry. Now it is fine. Yeah, this is the value. Similarly, let's now do one particular thing. Look at adding double to a long, int, and float, for example. So I'll take k, and k should be added, let's say, with a float. Let us take g, and add g with a long, let's say, b, and integer c. B and integer c. Okay, and I try to put it to let's say, variable int. M is equal to this much. So immediately there will be a syntax error. Okay, the resultant value of a double with a float with a long and to a int would be a double. The simple reason is that double is at the highest hierarchy right now. Okay, so you're putting it to a variable which is of integer part. So the type mismatch will be out there. So the type mismatch will tell you that cannot convert from double to int. It has to be your double. So when the resultant value is double, so it has to be put to a variable which should be of double type. So this is going to give you a problem. And reason is very simple. If you look at the hierarchy, The hierarchy is double is at the highest, followed by float, followed by your long, and followed by your integer. This is your reason is hierarchy. And the hierarchy says double is at the highest. Okay, so that is why this will give you a syntax error. And similarly, if I try to put a long n, which is an added value of these four, this will also have the same problem. This will tell you that cannot convert double to long. The same stuff is going to come. Type mismatch, cannot convert from double to long. Okay, so I'm going to comment this. And the same thing, I'll just copy this and put it out here. I'll call this as MNO and put this as float. This will also tell you the same thing. Cannot convert from double to float. Okay, you're getting that. Double to float. So I'm going to comment this also. And since the resultant value should be in long format, so put it to a variable as long. P is equal to this part. So when the value of K is stored in the memory of the computer for a double variable, this will be stored as 42.0. So 42.0 is added with 34.0. That is, this will be also stored as 34.0 in the memory. So 42 plus 34 is equal to 76. 76 plus B. So 76 plus B will be is equal to 96.0. 96.0 plus 30, that will be equal to 126.0. So that is the result of B. So if I print out the value of the double var P is P. Save this and run this. Okay, so that is the story about right now your double, and then we'll move towards let's say character data. Okay, and this is also pretty interesting. We'll see that why it is interesting. So character, certain rules. Character value, or other say character variable value declaration excuse me, should be of single digit and within single quotes. So two things, the variable value declaration for a character should be in single digit and within single quotes. Single quote precisely means, I'm putting it out here, this is your single quote. Okay. Secondly, character value, that is character variable value. Value can be special character, it can be your alphabetical character, and it can be your numeric character. Okay, so let's look at this, the character data type. So this will be, so the keyword used, the reserved keyword used for character data type is char, C-H-A-R. Okay, now I told you, let's say there's a variable called q. So when you declare the value of this variable, it should be within single quotes. So you put single quotes, put a terminator sign, and you should have a single digit. The single digit can be alphabets. Okay, so if you want to print out the result of this, so what is going to be showing in your console, that is what, let's see. So I can write down the value of the car variable is plus q. So let's save this and run this. We'll be printing a. That is the character value, variable value that you have put. So what you get in the console, let's put this down. So if you look at the console result, it is typing a only. Similarly, for example, I'll do a control C and a control V out here. Let's say R is equal to a numeric number. Let's say I write down the value of the character variable. This is character variable Q. Let's say variable R is R. So what is the result that will be thrown out? Let's see that. 1. That is the value of the variable. Similarly, if I put, let's say, a character variable S is equal to, let's say, a special character @ and I print out the value of this particular S, what's going to be thrown out? Let's see that. @ only. Okay, now what happens if we put a character variable with 2 digits? Character ST is equal to, within single quotes, you put a 2-digit value, which can be a combination of only alphabets, only numeric, or only a special character, or a combination of all the 3. So let's say A1. The moment you do that, you'll see a syntax error stating that invalid character constant. So this is the syntax error or the compilation error message that you will get. It states that it's an invalid character constant. So that is why I said that character variable value can take a single digit. If I put, for example, 2 A's or a combination of alphabet and special, the same syntax error is going to crop up. So I'll just write down the below code shows error with the message invalid character constant. So I'm going to comment this. Okay, now let's look at this particular stuff. I have an integer t which is having a value of 100, and I have a character u which is having a value of, for example, @. Okay, now I add up the variable t and u and put it to a, let's say, a variable which is, let's say, in character format. So v is equal to this much. Now you will see that there is a problem out here. Type mismatch cannot convert from integer to character. So that means when you add a character with an integer, this is character, this is integer. So when you add a character with the integer, the resultant value is integer. So you cannot put an integer value to a variable v, which is of character format. So that is where the type mismatch is coming. You can see that. Cannot convert from integer to char. That means the resultant value of adding variable to t with u is an integer value, and you have put it to a variable v, which is of character format. Now the question lies out here is that why does the resultant value turns to integer? That is the question, because you have put the value of the variable u as at the rate. So when you are adding at the rate with 100, how does it turn to an integer format? Because if I put integer out here, I will not have any problems. You see the red underline has gone. That means the resultant value is turning to an integer, and you are putting to an integer variable and it is getting accepted. But the moment I turn it back to car, you will have a problem. Type mismatch, cannot convert from integer to character. So let's comment it and understand that if I put the resultant value to an integer variable, how it is accepting it. So let's say character W. This is not character. Let's turn it to integer. Okay. Now it's getting accepted. Now my next inquisitiveness will be that what is the value that will be thrown out in the console of Eclipse? Okay. So let's run the sys out and just write down the value of the variable W is and concatenate W. Let's look at the value that will be thrown in the console of Eclipse. Value is 164. That means the value of t is 100. How does the value of at the rate comes to 164? Because 100 plus 64 is 164 out here. How does it come? So what you need to do is that you need to go to Google, okay, and open up Google and go to something known as ASCII table. So ASCII full form is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So that is what the full form of ASCII is. Guys who know it, well and good. So let's open up the ASCII table out here. And my deal is to see two columns, the character column and the decimal column. So if you look at the variable u, its value is at the rate, that is a character. So let's go to the ASCII table and look at the character column having at the rate sign. You can see up. This is where the character variable, character value is present at the rate. And what is the corresponding value of at the rate in the decimal column? 64. You can see this. So what happens is that when you add a character with an integer, this value of at the rate in the compiler is taken from the ASCII table, which is equal to 64. So when you add 64 with 100, obviously the resultant value will be 164, and that is why it is showing you. Okay. So that is why it is showing you 64. Now if I change the characters, for example, to small a, and I still add it, now the resultant value will be equal to something else. It is equal to 197 right now. That means the value of the character a in the ASCII table is 97. The 97 added with 100 is 197. So if you look at the ASCII table for the small letter a, which is out here, you can see this. The corresponding value in the decimal column is 97. So that is why it is showing you 97 plus 100 equal to 197. Similarly, if I turn this to a capital A, this will have a different value in the ASCII table. So let's go to capital A, and the value is 65. That means when I add 65 with 100, I'm going to get the value of W, which is equal to 165. So if I save this particular class file and run it, I'm going to get 165. Okay, now going forward, let's say I have a long X is equal to, let's say 33, and double Y is equal to, let's say 30.12, and I have a float Z is equal to, let's say 40. And let's do one particular thing. I add T, which is integer, plus U, which is character, and the value of U is A, plus U, plus X, plus Y, plus Z. Now the question is, should I put it to a double AA? Will it get accepted? Yes, it will get accepted. Why? Because if you look at the hierarchy is double at the highest, followed by float, followed by long, followed by integer, followed by character. So if you look at the hierarchy level, it's a hierarchy analysis. So hierarchy analysis is double is at the highest, followed by it is greater than your float, float is greater than long, long is greater than integer, and integer is greater than character. That is why the resultant value, if kept in a double, will be accepted. And what happens is that T is 100. And what is the value of A? The value of A in the ASCII table is, probably it is 65. You can see it is 65 out here. So 100 is the value of T. So T plus 65, 165 until this, plus X. X is 33. So 165 plus 33 is equal to your 198. 198 plus 30.0, that is equal to probably 228.12. 228.12 plus 40.0 is equal to 268.12. That will be the result of the variable double A. So if I print out the value of this, the value of the variable AA is A. So let's run this and see the result. 268.12. Okay, so if I put this value to an integer variable or to a float variable or to a character variable or to a long variable, it will be showing you a syntax error. And the syntax error will be type mismatch, cannot convert from double to integer or double to float, whatever you're putting out here. Okay, so that is a story about characters. So be very careful when you are adding a character with different other data types. Okay, you will think that the resultant will be something else, but actually the resultant value will be dependent on the ASCII table's value in the decimal column. This is the ASCII table's value in the decimal column. Okay, so that's the story about character. So let's go about Boolean. Now, Boolean can take only two values. There is two variable values. And the two variables value will be either true, there is Boolean true, or it can be Boolean false. Nothing else. Okay, and then that means typical analysis, the usage of Boolean will be then very restricted. That is what you will think, because you can only put a variable value declared as a Boolean, which can be only true or false. That means when you declare a variable as a Boolean, that variable can only hold values which can be true or false. So the next very simple analysis is that means the usage or the what do you call, the work of Boolean variables is very limited. It is true and false. Let's not think like that, because Boolean plays a very important role in comparative operators. We'll see what is a comparative operator. It plays a very important role in comparative operators. So the spelling is wrong. If you just hover your mouse, it will give you the correct spelling. Okay. Comparative operators, it will be used in comparative operators. It will be used in conditional statements. Conditional statements are nothing but if else. And it is also used in your loop statements. Loop statements precisely can be for loop, do while loop, or while loop. So Boolean has a very, very important role to play. Okay, so the role will be very, very important as far as comparative operators are concerned, conditional operators are concerned, and loop statements are concerned. So dependent on the Boolean value, the flow of the application will absolutely change. And that is how is the control of the Boolean value. That is how much it is important. That is what I'm trying to say. So based on the Boolean value, the course of the code or the flow of the code will absolutely change. That is why it plays a very, very important role as far as the results of the codes are concerned. And it is very, very typically used in your comparative operators, in your conditional statements, and in your loop statements. We'll see all these things. Let's not worry about that. So how do you declare Boolean? With a reserved keyword called Boolean. So I'll call this as, let's say, BB is a variable is equal to true. That is the only value we can give. If you try to give, for example, 1, there will be syntax error. And what is the syntax error we will get? You can see that tab cannot convert from integer to Boolean. If you give, for example, if I add this is CC, I put 1.0, immediately this will give as cannot convert from double to Boolean. Because decimal declaration in your Eclipse IDE, or when you are declaring a value of a variable with a decimal part, it will be taken by compiler as double. So I'm going to comment this. I'm going to comment this. Similarly, if I put Boolean DD is equal to, for example, within single quotes 1. What is the type mismatch? Cannot convert from card to Boolean. That is what you will get. So the only value that you can give to a Boolean variable is either true or false. Okay, so if you give it as true and you print out the value of this, yes, concatenate this with EE, and the value will be true, nothing else. Okay, and if you turn it to false, the value will be false if you run this particular code. So these are the only two values that is accepted by a Boolean. Now, let us take this particular format where I'm adding an integer with a character, with a long, with a double, with a float. Let's take this and put it out here. Okay, and what I will doing is that I will also add the Boolean variable EE and put it to a Boolean variable, let's say FF. Now look at what the syntax error is going to tell you. Operator plus, look at this particular syntax error, very interesting. The operator plus is undefined for the argument types double and Boolean. Because if you look at until this, the compiler understand if I add a double with a long, with a float, with an integer, the resultant value will be double. So until here, the resultant value will be double. You are adding, you're trying to, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to add a double with a Boolean, or are you trying to concatenate double with a Boolean? So this plus sign which you see out here, which I'm highlighting, is a confusion for the compiler. Because the compiler is not understanding, are you trying to add a double with a Boolean, that is addition operator, or are you trying to concatenate double with a Boolean? Because this plus sign which you see out here, okay, at certain point of time it acts as a plus, that is addition operator. At other points it will turn to a concatenation operator. So it is trying to understand from the compiler point of view, is this plus sign is an addition of this part which is Boolean with this part which is this part which is double. You're trying to add a double with a Boolean, or this plus sign is a concatenation. Are you trying to concatenate a double with a boolean? The compiler gets confused and throws this particular result. It says that the operator plus is undefined for the argument types double and boolean. Why double is coming? Because the resultant value of from here until here is double. And this is boolean. So that is why it is trying to understand this plus sign is an addition operator or a concatenation operator. And that is why it is not able to understand it. So that is why it is giving you is undefined. That means compiler is not understanding whether that plus sign is a concatenation operator or an addition operator. This particular plus sign. So that is why you will get a syntax error like this. So let's comment it. Okay. So let's understand that particular thing, that you cannot add boolean for with the rest of the data types that I've shown you. Neither you can add a boolean with the rest of the data types, neither you can concatenate boolean with the rest of the other types. If I, for example, put integer also, it doesn't matter for the compiler. Or character, for example, it will give you the same kind of problem. The operand plus is undefined for the argument types, because it is still taking as a double. Why double? Because the addition of double with a float, long, and integer and character will remain as double. So even if you put it to a character variable, the resultant value, it will still not be understood by the compiler whether this plus sign is a concatenation operator or a addition operator. So let's comment this. So let's understand one thing, that I'll put it out here as an understanding, that let's bring it down, that boolean values cannot be added or concatenated with double, float, long, int, character. Okay, so but yes, it plays a very important role as far as these are concerned. Okay, so that's the story about boolean, and the last is your string. Now I will not call string as a data type. I have told the reason for that. String is a type, so we can call a variable of string type, not variable of string data type. If you speak like that, that's the wrong way of expressing. So you say the variable is of string type. Now why this string is not a data type? Because string is an inbuilt class of Java. Okay, so you can declare a variable as a string type. You cannot declare a variable as a string data type because string is an inbuilt class. So I'll call this as string inbuilt class of Java. Okay, so how do you declare? Simple thing. You use string with a capital S, and you see the difference out here. All the other data types are in red color because they are reserved keywords. String is the inbuilt class of Java. That is why classes inside Eclipse will be shown in black color. The string str is equal to, let's say str1 is equal to hi. Now how do you declare it? Please understand, when you declare a string, as I have told you earlier also, which we have used in println command, string has to be declared within double quotes. So you're declaring it in double quotes. And before I declare anything, let me give you something. String is an inbuilt class of Java and not a data type. And string variable value declaration should be within double quotes. And third point is that string can take any type of character. Any type of character means it can take alphabets, numeric, and special. So this is a string str. This is a variable whose value is high, and then you have a string str2 whose value is equal to let's say learning Java. So I want to put it to a variable str3. Okay, so when you actually, now please understand one thing, str1 is not added with str2. Okay, this plus sign is not an addition out here. Whenever the concept of string comes, okay, this plus sign acts as a concatenation. So it will concatenate the value of str1 with the value of str2. So this plus sign, so for strings or whenever using string, the plus sign is a concatenation operator. Please remember this. It's not an addition. So you're trying to concatenate the value of str1 with str2. That is why how we define in terms of expressions. So you cannot add the value of str1 with str2. So here I can write down that we are concatenating the value of str1 variable with the value of str2 variable. Okay, and if I print out the value of str3, sys out str3. Now remember one particular thing, println takes this portion is string. Okay, and this portion can be anything. You're concatenating a string, so this portion is string. This will be printed out as it is in the console. So you're actually, what are you doing? Are you adding a string with E, which is Boolean? No, you're actually concatenating a string with a Boolean. If you go above also, here this is AA, which is double. Are you adding a string with a double? No, you're actually concatenating the string part with the double part. So this plus sign, wherever I'm using in the println command, is nothing but a concatenation operator. So wherever the concept of string comes and you're trying to use a plus sign after the string, which you are nothing but it can be a double, or it can be a float, or it can be an integer variable, or it can be a long variable, or a character or a Boolean, you're not adding the string part with the other part, which can be double, float, long, char, whatever it is. You're actually concatenating the string part with a double, or concatenating a string part with a float, or with a long, or with a Boolean. So please understand, that is why I've given this particular sentence, that for strings or whenever using strings, okay, the plus sign is always a concatenation operator. Okay, so here when I'm printing out str3, it will concatenate the value of str1 and str2. So what will be printed at? Hi, learning Java. So let's run this now. And it's all jumbled up, you can see this. There's no space between I and L. Look at this. And why the space is not there? Because obviously this value is your high, this value is learning Java. Have I given any space out here? I have not given any space. Had I given some space, then it would have been fine. Okay, so where can you give space? So I want to give space between I and L, right? How do I do that? So this is high, Then you're concatenating learning Java, and this is getting added up together and says hi, no space, learning Java. So you want to give a space, what you can do is that after this concatenation, put a simple empty space. Empty space is also considered as a string because you have put this within double quotes. And then this empty space string is concatenated further with str2. Now if I print out, I'll get a clear-cut answer, hi, and there's a space out here. So this space is nothing but an empty space. An empty space is considered as a memory out here. And this space right now is an empty character, rather, which is put to a string format. So whatever you put in the string format is thrown out in the console as it is. So this is nothing but a string. And then you're concatenating learning Java. So what you are doing, this is string. This empty space is also converted to a string because you have your double quotes, and this is also a string. The resultant value you are putting into str3, and you are getting this particular part. If I don't use this, for example, I don't use this particular part, so I don't use it, I will put it there, that also. Let's say I call this as str4, and I don't use this, I just remove this, I concatenate str1 with str2, and I get the value of str4. This will be jumbled up. So why did I give this particular space? To make the result look beautiful in the console. If I do not give the space, I'll get the result like this. Okay, so let us pick up this particular part. Okay, let us do not pick up the Boolean part, let us pick up this part. And plus str1. Okay, and I put the resultant value in string, let's say str5 is equal to this much. It is getting accepted, you can see that. So what are you doing? You're actually, what is t? You know t is integer. U is character, x is long, y is double, z is float. So I'll put it out here. This is character plus integer plus long plus double plus float and plus string. So if you add, so you're not adding until here. So the compiler moves, I have told you, the compiler always moves from left to right followed by top to down. So the compiler is moving from left to right. So the value of t is 100 and the value of the character a in the ASCII table is 65. So t plus 65, that is 100 plus 65 is 165 plus x 33. So 165 plus 33 is 198. Until here it is 198 plus y, this is double. And what is the value of double? 30.12. So 198 plus 30.12, that is equal to 228.12. So until here it is turning to double now. Because until here this is double. So when you add a double with rest of the thing, the hierarchy of double is at the highest. So this will be 228.12. 228 plus 12 plus z equal to 40. That is equal to 268.12. So until here, the value turns to a double format because double is at the highest hierarchy. Now, this plus sign is a concatenation operator or a addition operator. Now, I have told you that when you add anything with a string, when you use a plus sign with a string, okay, this plus sign will convert to a concatenation operator. So what happens out here, 268.12 will be concatenated with high. Because you cannot add 268.12 with high. Can you do that? You cannot do that. That is why this plus sign will turn to a concatenation operator because there is a string after that. A string cannot be added to 268.12. Plus. So what happens? 268.12 will be concatenated with string. and the resultant value will be 268.12 high. So let's print out. So what happens out here? When you add anything, whether you are adding a double or double character, integer, long, float with a string, the resultant value is a string. So the resultant value thrown in the console will be 268.12 high, and that value will be in string format. Why? Because if you are adding everything with a string, the string is at the highest hierarchy. And that is why when you put the value to a variable str as string, it is getting accepted. Because if you look at the hierarchy, the resultant value will be 268.12 high. Simply like this. And this value is a string value. And what is the reason? Reason is hierarchy. And if you look at the hierarchy, what is the hierarchy level? String first, then followed by double. Then comes the float, then comes the long, then comes the integer, and then comes the character. This is the hierarchy level right now. Okay, so if I print out the value of str5, I will get the value of 268.12 high. So that's the reason. So these are the different data types in Java. So that's what we completed right now. Okay. Now after this, I'm going to take up the concatenation operator to further make you understand and analyze the results of it. Until now, you guys have any questions, please ask me. If you guys have any questions, do ask me, please. Ali, Anusha, Dimple, Reza, Prem, Sakshi, Sissy, Usha, Varun, Vasvi, you have any questions, do ask me, please. No questions?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Okay. So let's move ahead with the concatenation operator. Other stuff will be easier for you. Now, until now, you need to understand how do you declare variables and what is the resultant of a variable when you add the different kind of variables with it. So now the concatenation operator will be a very, very, very easy stuff. Now let's create a new class. I'll call this package as concatenation. Okay, and I'll call this as understanding concatenation as the class name. So what I'll do is that I will pick up, for example, let's do one particular thing. Let's do. So I have integer. Let's say the integer is a, which is equal to, let's say, 20. Simple stuff I'll take. Integer b, which is equal to 40. Let's say double c is equal to, let's say, 60.00. That's fine. And you know that at this point of time, when I try to add a double with the integer, the resultant value will be double because double is the highest hierarchy. Now I have a string out here. So string 1, string str1, and I give the value as, for example, learning Java, let's say, and I have another string called str2 whose value is trying to understand. And this is the second session. For example, I have told you that it can take numeric, alphabets, anything if you would do. string. Now what I do is that I have a sys out directly. Okay, and I do something like this: str1 plus str2 plus a plus b, sorry, plus a plus b plus c. So what is the resultant value? What do you expect? Now I have told you that understand the movement of the compiler. Compiler moves from left to right and then top to down. So let's look at the compiler. When it comes out here, it first encounters a string. What is the value? String value str1 is learning Java. Okay. Now you're now using a plus sign, and there's a string again after that. So this plus sign out here will not act as an addition operator. This will act as a concatenation operator because there's a string involved. So you are concatenating learning Java with trying to understand this particular stuff. So copy this. Okay. So this plus sign is a concatenation. And what is the resultant value until now? Compiler movement is up to here right now. What is the resultant value? The resultant value will be, I'll just copy this, put it out here, and I will remove this plus. It will jumble together. Okay. This resultant value, now, again there's a plus. So the resultant value up to here is learning Java, trying to understand, and this is the second session. Until here, this is the result. Then this plus sign acts as a concatenation or addition. Again a concatenation because the string has come now. String is at the highest level. So what happens? This plus sign again acts as a concatenation, not addition. So concatenated with the value of A. What is the value of A? 20. So what will happen? This value. So I'll do analysis like this. Let's put it out here. Control X. Let's put the analysis like this. So this value now, Control C. So this value now, which is until here, this will be again a plus sign, and the value of A is 20. So this plus sign will not add up addition sign because immediately if the string is involved, the plus sign turns to a concatenation operator. So you are actually concatenating this value with 20. That means you are actually concatenating this value with 20, and the resultant value will be equal to, let's call this, paste it out here, and I'll remove this plus. The resultant value will be learning Java, trying to understand. This is the second session, 20. That's the value of compiler until it moves out here. Okay, and then let's take this particular value. So this value, again a plus sign, because this is the plus sign I'm speaking about, and then there's a B. And what is the value of B? 40. So this is completely a string now. Because when you add a string with an integer, the resultant value is string. So completely this is a string. A string cannot be added to your integer again. A string can be only concatenated with integer to convert it to a string again. So the resultant value will be again a string, and the resultant value will be showing as this. I'll just remove this plus. So learning Java, trying to understand, and this is the second session, 2040. I'll copy this and I will put it out here. Now this value is nothing but a string format, because until here you are concatenating a string with a string. This string is again concatenated with a string, because when you are trying to add an integer with a string, the resultant value is a string. Again you are trying to add a string with an integer. The resultant value will be a string. That is what you are doing. And then until this, the value is this. And then again you are adding it to C, whose value is 60.00. So when you are adding a string with a double, the resultant value will be still a string because string is at the highest hierarchy. So when I see the result in the console will be shown as this. This is the final result shown in the console. So it will be showing you learning Java, trying to understand, and this is the second session, 2040 60.0. That is the value that will be shown in the console right now. So let's run this. Look at the result. So learning Java, no space, trying to understand, this is the second session, 2040 60.0. That's what you get. Can I have I'll mute everybody because there's a lot of background noise which is coming. I've done that. Okay. So right now, this is the value of this println command. You can understand it. And you have to analyze what is the result that will come. And the analysis is that a string added to a string will be a string. And this whole part, when added to an integer, it will convert to string. That is why this plus sign acts as a concatenation. So this whole part becomes a string now. Now this string is again concatenated with B, which is integer. This will completely turn to a string part. And this string again concatenated with C, which is double. So a string concatenated with double will give you the resultant value as string because string is at the highest hierarchy. And the resultant value that you will get in the console is something like this, which I showed you. Similarly, let's take up another part. Let's take up using a direct sysout command. I'm going to add A plus B plus C plus str1 plus str2. Now, what is the analysis? This is integer added with the integer. So this plus sign acts as a addition operator right now because integer can be added with this. Now, please understand the compiler moves from left to right. So when it encounters this is integer, sees a plus sign, again an integer out here. So integer can be added with integer. So this plus sign acts as a addition operator. So 20 plus 40, 20 plus 40. So this plus sign acts as a addition operator, not a concatenation because this is integer, this is integer. So this value will be 60. Okay, and further on, until here the value is 60. Now 60 is plus the value of C is 60.00. So this is integer. After plus sign, this is a double. So a double can be added with the integer. So a double added to an integer will be nothing but a decimal format and the value will be 120.00. That means actually what happens? The hierarchy of double is at the highest at this point of time. So when a double is added with the integer, the resultant value will be double and that value will be 120.00 until here. Now going further, 120.00 plus str1. Now a double cannot be added with a string. This plus sign converts to a concatenation first. Second thing is that when you try to concatenate a double with a string, the hierarchy of string is the highest right now. So the resultant value will be 120.00 and the value of string is str1 is learning Java. So I'll just copy this. This will be the resultant value. Now going further, so until here, that means the value shown by the compiler will be 120.00 learning Java. And then this whole thing is nothing but a string now. Because when you use a plus sign to trying to basically, add string with a double, this addition is not an addition operator, you are doing concatenation. So you're actually concatenating a double with a string and the resultant value will be string. So when this is completely turning to a string cannot be added with another string. So this plus sign now acts as a concatenation. So when I take this, paste it out here and concatenate the str2, the str2 values is this one. I'll just copy this for you guys. And I'm concatenating this part. This is a string with another string, and the resultant value will be completely a string. So the resultant value will be equal to this one without this plus. So the resultant value, the final value thrown by the console by the compiler in the console will be 120.00 learning Java trying to understand. And this is the second session. So let's run this after saving the class file, and this is what I'll get. Okay. Similarly, so let's put this analysis down. It is not good to put it's not good to put comments beside the coding lines. Always put it up or down. This is the analysis, and the next part is, let's say, sysout str1 plus a plus b plus str2. Simple analysis. This is string. The str1 is learning Java. A string cannot be added with an integer. So string can be only concatenated with the integer. So that's value until here will be learning Java 20. The whole thing learning Java 20 turns to a string. Because string is at the highest hierarchy. So learning Java 20 can be concatenated with 40. The whole thing becomes a string now. So learning Java 2040 completely is a string now, and can be further concatenated with str2. So what is the resultant value? Learning Java 2040 trying to understand. This is the second session. That is what you will get. Learning Java 2040 trying to understand. This is the second session. And this whole thing is nothing but the resultant value will be a string. Okay. Next, sysout. For example, I have one more parenthesis now. Okay. I put a plus b out here. And outside the parenthesis, I add str1 plus str2. What happens now? The moment the compiler sees, the compiler moves from left to right. The compiler says, oh, there's a parenthesis now. So whatever is present within the parenthesis, that operator will be operated. The operands will be operated based on the operator that you're using. Now, this is a addition operator. So this part will be happening first by the compiler. So addition of 20 plus 40 will be equal to 60. And you can do further thing. You can add C also. So whenever a compiler sees, oh, there is a parenthesis, the operands within the parenthesis will be operated based on the operator that you're using. These are called operands. A, B, C are called operands. So the operands will be operated based on the operator that you're using. This is a plus operator or an addition operator. So whatever is there within the parenthesis will be operated first. And then the resultant value until this now will be 20 plus 40, 60 plus 60.00. So 120.0. Because double when added to an integer will be double. Because double is at the highest hierarchy. And then it will be not added with str1. So 120.0 will be concatenated with str1, whose value will be learning Java. So until here, now the whole thing turns to a string, because a string added with a double. So this part will fetch you a double format. Okay, so a double cannot be concatenated with a string. So a double cannot be added with a string. A double can be concatenated with a string. The whole thing turns to a string right now. So 120.0 learning Java, and then further it will be concatenated with trying to understand. This is the second session. So what is the result of this particular sysout? 120.0 learning Java, trying to understand, and this is the second session. So if I run this, I'll get the result. Okay, and the last part which I want to show you, or you should not get confused. Let's say I have str1 plus, then you have a parenthesis where you have a plus b plus c, and then you have str2. Can somebody tell me the result of this? You can write in the chat section if you know the result of this. And if you are not able to understand and know it, then you can raise your hand. You can put your answers in the chat section, doesn't matter. Wrong, right, it doesn't matter at this point of time. Anybody knows the answer? Okay. Sissy does not know. That is why she is raising her hand. Dimple does not know. It's fine. It's fine. Others? Anusha also does not know. Okay. Anybody else? If you know, put your answer in the chat section. So the answer given by Ali is Ali has given an answer as 120.00. Is that correct, Ali? Okay. And Varun has given, yeah, Dimple knows the answer. Dimple, can put your answer out there. Yeah. Prem, your answer is correct. Prem, your answer is absolutely correct. Okay. Let's look at Usha, learning. Let's hold on. Let's hold on. Okay. Let's look at Ali. Ali, your answer is correct, but I think you have repeated your answers by putting it once more. Ali, your answer is also correct. Vasavi's answer is also correct. Anusha, your answer is also correct, Anusha. About Usha, your answer is a bit of a problem. Now, please understand that I have told you that the parenthesis part, now, the compiler moves from left to right. Okay, now, the value of string str1 is learning Java. Then immediately after the plus sign, this plus sign is not a button but a plus with a concatenation, it encounters a parenthesis. So what it will immediately do is that it will first do the operations on the parenthesis. So when it does an operation with the parenthesis, the resultant value will be 20 plus 40, 60 plus a double, 60.0. The resultant value of A, B, and C will be a double, that is 120.0. So what it will take is, I'll tell you this. Most of you is correct. I think Usha a bit that you need to put a learning Java 120.0 trying to understand. That is the only thing that you need to do, Usha. And anybody else? Varun is also correct. Dimple is correct. Ali is correct. Usha. Fine. So most of you have understood it. So it happens something like this. You're going to put the value of string str1 as learning Java. That is how the compiler will move. And then it encounters a plus and then encounters a parenthesis. The moment it encounters parenthesis, it will do the operation inside the parenthesis first. That is the first thing it will do. Okay, so integer added with a double with a double. So this will be equal to 120.0 and then plus this part. So what's going to happen? The resultant value will be a string concatenated with a double, which will be turning it the complete thing to a double. Sorry, to complete thing to a string, because string is at the highest hierarchy. So this whole result will be a string. So it will be throwing it as learning Java 120.0, and then the whole string will be again concatenated with this part. And the resultant value will be, which most of you have done it right. I'm just putting it for the guys who is not able to understand it. The resultant value will be equal to, I'll just remove this plus and these parentheses. That's all. The resultant will be learning Java 120.0, trying to understand, and this is the second session. So when you run this, you're going to get the result as learning Java 120.0, trying to understand, and this is the second session. Yeah. So that is how, I hope CC, Dimple, Preza, you had raised your hand. If I believe you have understood it right now. If you still not, please let me know. So that is the usage of your concatenation operator. So you need to understand how the compiler reacts based on the different data types you're using, and how does it take the plus sign as a concatenation sign, how does it take as an addition sign. Okay, there's a question. Yeah, thanks, Usha. So that's the story about concatenation, and let's move forward. These are very, very small basic stuffs, but sometimes you create mistakes, and that is why I wanted to take it. Let's create another class file with a different package. I'll use the command, print command. We'll try to understand the print command. Understanding print command. That is the class name. So let's understand it. It's a very, very important and very, very easy stuff, but very, very important. Now, for example, I have a string str1, and I write down the value of it as, let's say, this is the first line. And again, I copy this and I have another line. Okay, let's do one particular thing. Instead of putting into a string and then calling the string, let's define it as part of your. Okay, anyway, put it like this, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is the first line, this is a string. I will like to print out the value of str1. Okay, I would also like to print out the value of str2. Now out here, okay, I will also have the third line, str3, and I'll call this is the second line, and this is the third line. Okay, I'll call this as str3. I'll print out str3. This will be str2. Simple understanding. So what is happening out here? I'm printing out each of these strings. So if I run this right now, I'm getting the values. This is the first line. This is the second line. This is the third line. Fine. No problems right now. I'll create another string str4. Okay, I'll call this as the fourth line. But instead of println command, I'm using the print command. So instead of println command, I'm using the print command. And look at the result right now. So, oh, this is str4, right? Okay, so the printing of str4 is also coming. Now, after this, I'm going to put one more, str5, and I'll call this is the fifth line. And call up str5 and now print out again. Now let's see what is happening right now. Now if you look at here, I will use the println command. Okay, and I run it. Now if you look at the differences of the print command, here for str1 println, for str2 println, for str3 println, for str4 print command, and then for str5 println again. So look at the difference of the results now. If you look at the result, the string 5 is printed out in the same line as string 4. Now why is that happening? Simple reason. I have used the print command in string 4. What does the print command do? The print command will print it out. So it is printing it out. Okay. After printing out, the cursor is still blinking out here. Why? Because I'm using the print command, not the println command. The cursor is still blinking out here. So when I print out str5, the value of str5 will be printed out in the same line as for str4. And the reason is that because I have used the print command in str4, the cursor is blinking out here. So when I print out str5, the cursor will keep on typing from the same position. After typing the string 5, then the cursor will move to the next line. Why? Because in string 5, I have used ln. ln means what? ln will move the cursor to the new line. So after printing out str5's value in the same line as str4, the cursor, rather blinking out here, will move to the new line because in str5 I have used the print ln command, and the ln command allows the cursor will move from this position to this position. So when I print out str6, for example, I print out str6, okay, and I use the print ln command. So when I print out str6, what is happening? In str5, I have used print ln. That means the cursor from here will go to the new line immediately because I have used the print ln command for str5. So the cursor is blinking here right now. So this result will be printed out. This is the 6th line. So this result will be printed out where the cursor has moved. And where the cursor has moved? The cursor has moved to the next line, that is to a new line after printing out this. Because in this particular string, I have used the print ln command. So after printing out 5th line, the cursor will move to a new line because I have used the print ln command out here. And in the new line, this will be printed out. So after printing out, this is the 6th line in a new line. Okay. Again, the cursor is going to move to the next line because I have used the print ln command. So let's look at this. See this? So after printing out this, what is going to happen? The cursor will move to the new line. Why? Because I have used the print ln command. Had I used the print command out here, so what it will do? It will print the result in the new line because here I have used the print ln command. So because I have used the print ln command for the string 5, the cursor will move from here to here. We'll print out this line. After printing out this line, the cursor will still remain here because there's a print command for string 6. And if I try to do a sys out directly, stating that this is the 7th line, where will this be printed out? In the same line where this is printed. Why? Because string 6, I have used the print command, not the print ln command. So since I have used the print command, the cursor is blinking here. And after that, there's this particular line. So this line will be printed out as it is with here, with the 6th line. So if I run this class file after saving, you will see it is coming like this. Now after printing out this line, the cursor is going to move to the next line. Why? There's a print ln. So that is why when I print out anything else, let's say hi, this will be printed out in a fresh line because in this particular line I have used the ln command. Look at this. Now let's say in hi, I don't use the ln command. What's going to happen? The cursor will blink here only now. So after this, I again use a print ln command, or let's say the print ln command right now, and let's say welcome. So this will be printed out in the same line where it has printed at hi, because for hi I have used the print command, not the print ln command. So the cursor is blinking out here. So in the same position where the cursor is blinking, this will be printed out. So after it prints out welcome with hi, then the cursor is going to move to the next line again because I have used the ln command. Simple. So that's the difference between your print command and print ln command. So I'm just going to write it down. The print ln command is going to print the result in the console, and move the cursor to a new line. Okay, whereas the print command will throw the result in the console and the cursor position remains in the same line where the printout has happened. So that is why if you look at this particular, this will be printed in a fresh line. After printing it out, the cursor will move to the next line or to a new line because I have used the println command. Similarly, since it has moved to this new line, this will be printed in a fresh line. Okay, and after printing out, since I have used the ln command, the cursor will move to the third line now. So after moving the cursor to the third line, this will be printed out. And after printing out this in the third line, the cursor will again move to a new line or a fresh line because I have used the println command. So it moves to the fourth line and the fourth line will be printed out in the fourth line rather. And then the cursor, after printing out this in the fourth line, the cursor will still blink in the same position because I have used the print command. So it will blink after printing out this, it will still blink out here because I have not used the println but the print command. So since it is blinking out here, this will be printed out with this line. So after printing out this in the same line as this one, the cursor will then move to the new line because for str5 I have used ln. So after printing out this line in the same line as this one, then the cursor will move to the new line because in string 5 I use the ln command. And that is what is happening. Is there a question? Yeah, Sissy, you have a question? Sissy, do you have a question? You raised your hand. Yeah, you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I forgot to put that down.
No problem. No problem. Okay.
Yeah,
So that is why
I understood that.
Okay. So that is why you see these two are printed the same line. So after printing out, this is the fifth line with the same line, then the cursor is going to move to the new line because that is where I have used the println command. So this will be printed out in the fresh line, but after printing out in the fresh line, the cursor will still blink in the same line because I have used the print command. So since it is blinking in the same line, this will be also printed out with sixth line. And that's what you can see. And then the cursor is going to move to the new line because with this I have used ln. So that is how is the difference between the print and the println command. The print is going to print it out in the console and the cursor removes in the same line. Whereas the println command will print out in the console and then move the cursor to the new line. So that is how you get results based on the print and the println command being used in your console or in your Eclipse IDE. Now, why I am showing you this? Please understand the command println is a very, very powerful command. Okay, based on the usage of println and print command, the result in the console will be shown. So you can manipulate your result by using the println and the print command as and where it is required. And that manipulation of print and println command I will directly show you when the concept of arrays comes, because that is where I will be able to show you the power of the print and println command. Okay, so let's understand at this point of time this is more than enough for a print and println. And the last part, which is fairly very easy, is the comparative operator. So I'll create a new class file again. I'll create a new package. And this is very, very easy. should not have any space. Call the main method and let's run this. So what are comparative operators? First, I'll let you know that. Comparative operators are very simple. Comparative operators in Java are these ones. This is the greater than sign. People who do not know, I'm just putting it for them. And then you have the less than sign. This is your and then you have something known as greater than equal to. This is your greater than or equal to. So the expression has to be understood like this: greater than or equal to. Okay, and you have something known as less than equal to also. So this will be nothing but less than or equal to. I'm putting or in capital letters, and there's a reason for that. We'll see that reason. Okay, and then you have so greater than equal, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, and then you have something known as double equal to. This is considered as equality sign. Okay, and then you have something known as exclamation equal to, which is equal to. What is the meaning of this? Not equal to. So exclamation equal to is nothing but it means not equal to. So these are considered as comparative operators in your Java. So if I put it in a single line, it will be something like greater than, comma, less than, comma, greater than equal to, comma, less than equal to, comma, you have equality, comma, not equal to. These are the different equality comparative operators. Okay, so how do we use this? Now I've told you that Boolean is heavily used with comparative operators. I'll show you a simple understanding. Let's say I directly do a sys out. I put out 4 is greater than 3. Sorry, 4 is less than 3. Now is 4 the value of 4 less than the value of 3? Not right. So this will throw out a Boolean false. Automatically the compiler will understand, obviously the value of 4 is greater than the value of 3. Now I've said that 4 is less than 3. That's not possible. So the compiler will, compile it and give you a Boolean result. So that is where you're using the Boolean data type out here. So 4 is not less than 3. So this is false. The compiler will take it as a Boolean false. So this will throw Boolean false. And if you just save the class file and run it, you will see Boolean false out here. This is Boolean false. Similarly, I can directly use sys out. Let's say 2 is, for example, 2 is greater than 1. Obviously, the value of 2 is greater than the value of 1. So this will be compiled with the compiler as Boolean true. So we'll throw Boolean true, and the result will be true in your console. Save it and run it. You will see Boolean true out here. Similarly, I can also write down sys out. Is the value of 4 not equal to the value of 4? This is not equal to sign. Obviously, the value of 4 in the left hand side is equal to the value of 4 in the right hand side. So how can you say that the value of 4 is not equal to the value of 4? It is 4 is equal to 4, right? So what will this throw out? Boolean false. Why? Because not equal to. So I'm saying that value of 4 is not equal to the value of 4. Compiler will not take it. It will throw you a Boolean false. So we'll throw Booleans false for that. So let's run this. But if I say something of this sort, that the value of 4 is equal to the value of 4, that is 4, equality sign. This is equality sign. Okay, so I'm saying the value of 4 in the left hand side is equal to the value of 4 in the right hand side. Yes, it is true. So what will be the compiler throw out? Compiler will throw out Boolean true. And when you save the class file and run it, you will see that it is throwing out Boolean true. Okay, and let's move further, and we can say that is the value of 100 greater than equal to 100? Now please understand one thing, greater than or equal to. This or out here is a or logic. Now how does the or logic work? So let's understand the or logic first. Okay, I'll put the or logic better out here. Let's not put it out here. Let's put it out here. So how does the or logic work? Because what I'm trying to say, I'm saying that is the value of 100 greater than or equal to 100? So there's a or logic, and that is why I put or in capital letters. Okay, so how does the or logic works? Now here there are two inputs, right? 100 and 100. Left hand side 100, right hand side 100. So there are two inputs. So let's say it might be three inputs also. So this is input 1, input, input 1, and let's have a tab, input 2, and then let's have a tab again, and result. Now understand this thing. If the input is 0, 0 means false. Okay. And the input is again false. 0 means false. Please remember that. FALSE. The result will be 0, that is equal to false. If the input 1 is true, true means 1, and input 2 is 0, that is equal to false, the resultant value will be, as far as OR logic is concerned, it will be still true. That is how it reacts. That is a logical circuits or logical gates which we have learned probably in grade 8 or 9. We learn it right now. I'm just trying to revise you guys. If the input 1 is false, and I go to input 2, which is equal to true right now, okay, the resultant value will be still true. That is how OR logic reacts. And the last one is that if the input is true, input 1 is true, and input 2 is also true, which is equal to 1, the resultant will be also true. Now if you look at the analysis of OR logic, the result will be always true if one of them is also true. So here one of them is true, here this one is true. If one of them is also true, the resultant will be true. Result value will be true. Here both are true. So obviously the result will be true. So in OR logic, when is the result false? When all the inputs are false. So OR logic, when all inputs are false, the result is false. Otherwise, the result is true. So when all inputs are false, INPUTS, the result is false in OR logic. Otherwise, the result is always true. So if you see when the result is true, if one of them is also true, the result is true. Here, this is true, that is why the result is true. Here, both the result inputs are true, that is why it is true. So I'm going to put this as part of your block comment. This is the concept of your OR logic. Now, what is the concept of your AND logic? There's an AND logic also. So I'll just copy this part. I'm not going to work around again like this. So in AND logic, this is false, the result is false. This is true, this is false, the result will be false. This is false, this is true, result will be again false. And this is true, input 1 is true, input 2 is true, then only it will be true. So in AND logic, if one of the inputs is false, the result will be false. So in AND logic, all the inputs has to be true for the result to be true. I can write down. So in AND logic, all inputs have to be true in order for result to be true. This is nothing but Boolean true and Boolean false. Please remember that. I'm commenting it, block comment. So here, when you are using greater than equal to, you are using the OR logic. And what does the OR logic says? OR logic says the result is true if one of them is also true. So this is true, the result is true. This is true, this is false, but the result is still true. And if all are true, obviously this will be true for OR logic. So here what I am saying that, I'm trying to make the understand as that, is the value of 100 greater than or equal to true? In other words, what I am deciphering is the value. I've just come back to the question, just hold on. Is the value of 100 greater than 100, or is the value of 100 equal to the value of 100? That is what we are trying to ask as far as this particular comparative operator is concerned. So what we are trying to ask is the value of 100 greater than the value of 100. So what will the result of this? So is the value of 100 greater than the value of 100? So this will fetch me what? False. The value of 100 is equal to the value of 100. Correct? So this portion is false. Or is the value of 100 equal to the value of 100? This portion is true. So this is true, this is false. True and false. This is false, right? Value of 100 cannot be greater than 100. So this is false and this is true. So if you look at the AND OR logic, one of the inputs is false. Is the value of 100 greater than the value of 100? That is false. Second part is that, is the value of 100 equal to the value of 100? That is true. So false and true, the resultant value will be true. So this will throw out the value of Boolean true in the console of Eclipse. Let's run this. And I'll take the question. Okay. Now, the next portion. Sys out. Value of 200 is less than equal to 100. So what is the question I'm going to ask? There are two sets of questions. Is the value of 200 less than the value of 200? So what is this going to fetch me? Value of 200 cannot be less than the value of value of 100. It is right. Is the value of 200 less than the value of 100? What is this going to fetch me? False. And then there's the OR logic again. Is the value of 200 equal to the value of 100? So there are two sets of questions. This is one input. This is another input. So is the value of 200 less than the value of 100? False. Okay. Is the value of 200 equal to the value of 100? This is also false. So this is false. This is false. Both the inputs are false, and it's an OR logic used out here. So if both the inputs are false, so this is false. Is the value of 200 less than the value of 100? False. Is the value of 200 equal to the value of 100? False. Both are false. Resultant value will be Boolean false. This is going to show me Boolean false if I run it. I'm just giving you simple analysis of very basic parts, and that is why I'm taking each point by point basis. So I can say there is value of 1000 is greater than equal to the value of 200. So what is the question I'll ask? Is the value of 1000 greater than 200? True. OR logic. Is the value of 1000 equal to 200? False. So one input is true, the other input is false. So one input is true, the other input is false. It's OR logic, the result will be true. So this will fetch out Boolean true for you. Let's run this. Okay, so we have seen what? We have seen the less than sign, the greater than sign, the greater than equal to, the less than equal to, the equality sign, and we have seen the non-equal to also. Last part, sys out. 4 is not equal to 3. Obviously, the value of 4 in the left hand side is not equal to the value of 3 in the right hand side. So this will fetch me Boolean true. If I run this, I'll get Boolean true. Okay, and two more things, sys out. So I'll use a parenthesis out here. 4 is greater than 3. Outside the parenthesis, I'll use the ampersand sign. Again a parenthesis. 3 is less than 5. Now parenthesis, the operators will be operated first. 4 is greater than 3. What will this fetch out? Boolean true. And then you have the ampersand sign. And there is a parenthesis here. The operation will be performed here. 3 is less than 5. So this is false. Now there is an ampersand sign used out here. What is this ampersand sign used for? The ampersand sign is used for AND logic. So please remember it. I'll put it out here. Ampersand sign used for AND logic. Okay, so I'm saying 4 is less than 3, true. Boolean true it will throw out. Then 3 is less than 5, greater than 5, this will be false. Now ampersand is used for AND logic. So this is true, one input is true, the second input is false. Let's go to the AND logic. This is false. True, this is false. So this will fetch me false. This will be Boolean false. So if you run this, this is going to be Boolean false. And again, one more thing, I'll just copy this. The same thing I'll copy. Okay, and instead of ampersand, I'm going to use the pipe sign. The pipe sign is above your backward slash in your keyboard. The pipe sign is basically used for the purpose of OR logic. So I'm just going to put it out here. Sign is used for OR logic. Okay, so it says, so let's analyze this. 4 is greater than 3, true. Boolean true, fine. OR is a pipe sign. 3 is greater than 5, this is false. So true or false. So OR logic gate, true or false. The resultant value will be Boolean true. So I'll get true for this when you run this. Okay, so these are the different comparative operators, and you can have a compounded, these are compounded comparative operators, compounding one operator part with another operator part. Okay, and let's say I put it 3 is less than equal to 5. So here what is happening? 4 is greater than 3. Here it will be 3 is less than 5 or 3 is equal to 5. 3 is less than 5 is true, or 3 is equal to 5 is false. So true and false is OR logic used here. True and false will be true. So this will become true still. Okay, so this will become at this point of time true. Okay, and this will be true. True or true, the resultant value will be true. Because true or true. So true or true is what? True. So if I run this, I will get true. If I use the same thing, copy and paste it just for your reference, I'm putting it. I just remove this equal to. Then what is the analysis? 4 is greater than 3, true. Boolean true. OR logic. 3 is less than false, 5. 3, so the 3 is greater than 5, false. So true or false. So true or false. OR logic. True or false, the resultant value will be true. So this will also fetch me true. Okay, so this is how you can use comparative operators either directly with your println command, or you can have something like this also. You can basically write down integer a is equal to, let's say, 60, and then integer b is equal to 70, and I can do a comparison of these two directly in your println command. Is a less than b? This will fetch me Boolean true. A is obviously less than b. So if I run this, or I can do a beautification of the result. The resultant, let's put it within string. The resultant Boolean value is so if you see, there is a red mark out here. The operator greater than, okay, is undefined for the argument type string and integer. So what you can do is, actually string cannot be concatenated with a Boolean. So for example, I'll show you a simple understanding. Boolean, let's say C is equal to true. Okay, and you have a string like this. A string str is equal to, for example, hi. And you sys out C plus str. Okay. So what is the value that you will get? Not C. What is the C? Yeah, C plus str. So what is the value that you'll get? So let's cancel this. Let's draw this. C with an str is you're getting true high. So can you put str with C? That's also possible. So when you run this, you get high true. So here it is integer out here. And comparative operators generally, if you have, let's say, this is an integer format. Okay, so 60 greater than 70. If I put it directly like this, I will not have a problem. Then it will be taken and you will get the result as true for this. Now if you want to beautify it, you have to put a string result. For example, this will fetch you a problem. This is string and you are actually comparing the integer values. Okay, so what you need to do is that first of all, you have to convert the integer value to a string format. But that will not fetch you the result. That is the question.
I think if you just put the parentheses, it's gonna give you the right result.
Yeah, probably that might also help you out. Then you will get the result. The result is true, and probably you can beautify it once more. You can just put a kind of a semicolon and some spaces between after the semicolon and before the semicolon, and then again concatenate this. If you do not put a parenthesis, that is where you face a problem. For under that circumstances, you have to convert the integer to a string format. We'll see that later on. You don't want to confuse at this point of time. Okay, so just understand that I put the same stuff. Okay, Control V, I remove all these parts, the parentheses which I put out here. This will fetch you a problem. And the simple analysis can be done out here. For example, if an integer D is equal to 60, and that is what you have done. Okay, and you concatenate actually. What you are doing is that this is a comparative operator coming in between two integers. Okay. Now, when you have a comparative operator, it is always good that you cannot concatenate. But in the real-time scenario, if you see this is a string, and this is an integer. Let's say str3 is equal to, for example, welcome. Now, if I want to concatenate these two values, sys out directly, and let's say I put str3 plus d. It will not have any problem. The result will be welcome 60 because the whole thing will turn to a string. Okay, and I get the value as welcome 60 if I run this. Proceed. Okay, proceed, whatever it is. Okay, let's comment this and then run it. So I'll get welcome 60. There's no problem with that. That is what I'm trying to tell you. But whenever a comparative operator is coming between two integers or two decimals or whatever it is, always good to put a parenthesis to make the compiler understand that there is a comparison done out here. So have that result as true or false, then you can concatenate with the string, because the resultant value of this is a boolean true or a boolean false. Okay. So when you do a comparison like this and you want to put the result in a beautification manner, you got to put this parenthesis for a comparative operator. If you do not put it, you will have a problem like this, because you got to make the compiler understand that, oh, this is, you're not concatenating result string with, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to make the compiler understand. The string concatenated with integer, and then the compiler understand, oh, there's a greater than sign, so I will not be able to justify that. The compiler is not able to justify the resultant value of this format because it goes from left to right. This is string. It says string means this plus sign acts as a concatenation. So concatenated with integer, fine. The resultant value will be string. Is the string less than integer? That is what you are trying to make the compiler understand. Because the compiler moves from left to right. The result is string concatenated with integer. The whole value becomes a string because string is at the highest hierarchy. And then the whole value becoming a string is being compared with B. So string cannot be compared with integer. That is what you need to understand it. And that is why there's a compilation error out here. The operand greater than sign is undefined for the argument type string and integer. Why is string and integer coming? Because this part is integer and this whole part is string now, including A. So how can you compare string is less than integer? That is what you're trying to say. The compiler doesn't understand that. It says this operand is undefined for the comparator. So that's why you need to put it within the parenthesis, and then the compiler understands this is string concatenated with the string, and then it will be concatenated further with the Boolean value. So that is why this was not working. That is the analysis of that. Okay, so that's enough for today. Okay, I think I have taken a lot of stuffs. The things which I have taken is the comparative operators, the concatenation operators, the other data types, and usage of your println command. So if you have any questions, do ask me right now, or you can put it in the blog. There's a question I think I'm coming out. Yeah, that's why I use the parenthesis. Thanks for it anyways. So tomorrow when I take the class, I will be starting up with your conditional statements and loop statements, and then I will follow it with arrays. These are the three stuffs that I'll be taking tomorrow, and I'm going to give it the show you the rather put out the PPTs for those topics, and plus the PPTs for today's topic, whatever I have. And if you have any questions while looking at the videos, if you have any offline questions, please put it to in your blog, in your discussion board. Anyhow, today's session, whatever I have taken, these files will be available to you, and I will put it right now before I get out. So, Sissy, I have given a reply to this, so I will give a reply to this. Sissy, if you're hearing me, if you have a JDK installed in your system, what you need to do is please uninstall JDK. First put JRE. Okay. Okay. And we'll see when we will put the JDK part. Okay. Okay. JDK part will be required when we use Selenium with your Maven, Selenium with Ant, or Selenium with any third-party APIs. That is where we will require the JDK. At this point of time, please uninstall this.
So when I clicked under the JDK, the JRE is also there. So I'm not sure. I've been using that, and it's compiling the program. So is there anything?
I'll tell you what the problem you will be facing. If you install JDK first and JRE, there will be clash of the JRE that you are installing after JDK, and probably it will not install in a proper location. Okay. So that is why I said that you can just uninstall it, install JRE, and then you can install JDK if you wish.
Okay. And so will all the coding and all will still be preserved?
Yeah, it will be preserved. It will be preserved.
Okay. And I was able to figure out the answer to the other question about the what is it? There was something else I had asked about.
Yeah, regarding workspace, I already have a workspace.
Yes, yeah, you had explained when I listened to your recording from yesterday. You had answered that question there. Okay.
So, anyways, since you've asked the question, I'll put my answers still out here so that everybody can have a look at it. Okay. Okay. Let me go back to the assignment section and put today's file. I'm going to put the PPT after a certain amount of time. Okay, for today's class and tomorrow's class. So you expect it after probably an hour or so.
So, Kaushik, I have a question.
Yeah, please ask.
Okay, so I just joined the session today, and I did not know that if there was any assignment. So, did we have any assignment for the first class?
No. My deal is very, very clear. I have to finish certain topics, and when I finish up those topics, then I'll give you an assignment. And the
Okay.
assignment will be in the assignment and case sections of your blog.
Okay.
So I need to finish up until your loop statements. After I finish up the loop
Okay.
statement, that is probably tomorrow, then I'll place an assignment for you guys.
Okay, and it's gonna be there for if I wanna watch it online, though, right?
Yeah, you can watch it, all the videos online. You can watch the videos in the video recording sections. You
Okay.
can watch the demo session and the yesterday's session. Today's session's video will be put out here after a bit of editing from the Xanatech guys. So you can expect it
Okay.
in another 3 to 4 hours. Session.
Okay, because actually I'm not able to take the class tomorrow because I'm flying out, and so yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I can have the video available on the Xanatech website, so I can just go ahead and follow it.
Yeah. You will be able to follow all these sessions because the recordings will be available, and the recordings will come with the topics that I've covered.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Kaushik.
So,
Thanks.
Kaushik, I had a question again. So the video recordings, you said in a couple of hours it will be up there?
Yeah, it will be up. What they do is they actually look at the lag periods. They will remove the lag periods and do an editing of it and then put it in the video recording section.
So by tomorrow morning, if I look at
Should be, yes.
link,
Should be.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any of you have any other questions, please ask me.
Okay, Kaushik, are you taking like 2 hours class or 2.5?
Beg your pardon?
Are you taking 2-hour class or 2.5?
I told you it will be minimum 2 and maximum it can go to 3 hours.
Yeah, we may not get enough time to practice it since we're working. That's the reason.
Actually, I am also working, so, instead of that, I understand you're learning for the first time, but yes, you got to dedicate some amount of time even after you're working.
And is it
And
from
that is,
Thursday or Friday? Because we had a confusion. The first
this will be
time,
4 days a week, Monday to Thursday for you. Mine will be Tuesday to Friday because I'm at Bangalore, India. So I will be having my classes but Tuesday to Friday. Yours will be Monday to Thursday because you're US timings.
Oh, is it Monday to Thursday? Because they told me that it's Monday to Friday. Like it's 5 days a week.
No.
Is
It
it
is
4
4 days
days?
a week. 4 days a
Okay,
week.
okay.
I generally need one day of a 1 day of gap because weekends again I have classes Saturday and Sundays. So I need to
Right.
chill out a bit.
Right. So it's you said in States it's Monday to Thursday. You said?
Yes.
Okay,
In States
alright.
it is Monday to Thursday.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Kaushik, I have a quick question. This is Usha.
Yeah.
So when you showed us the data types, during that time I saw that when you are initializing variables, you're using all lowercase. So will that change? I know for string type it was you used uppercase for S, but the value still again was lowercase. So I was just wondering.
String can take any kind of values, uppercase, lowercase, alphabetical characters, numeric characters, special characters, anything you can take. Okay. Now, why string with the capital S? Because any classes inside Java, string is an inbuilt class. So classes will always be defined with the uppercase and will be black in color in Eclipse ID.
Okay.
That is why string is with a capital S. Whereas integer, float, your long, double, character, boolean, they are considered as data types, also called as primitive data types. They are called as primitive data types. So they are also reserved keywords. That is why you will see those in red color. And secondly, all the primitive data types which I spoke about will be starting with a small letter.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
I think I was getting one more question from. Was it Sissy? Okay, Prem, you had a question. Please ask me. Prem, I can see your hand. You can unmute yourself and you can speak to me. You can unmute from your end. Okay, I see a hand beside Prem, so that's why. Yeah, Sissy, you want to ask me a question?
Hi, Kaushik. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually this question is to the organizer. I can see the class schedule as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The dashboard with in Zarentech. It says Friday at 7:30 p.m. CST 2 hours. So my question is to the organizer. It says the class is also on Friday.
So organizers, if you are available, please answer. Otherwise, I will send you an email regarding this. So this has to be changed then.
And how long does it take? How many weeks is that?
How many weeks means I've given you the timings. Probably 8 to 10 sessions would be on Java. There will be 12 to 14 sessions on your Selenium WebDriver, 5 to 6 sessions on TestNG, and then you have the grid, which will be 2 to 3 sessions, and framework will be 5 to 6 sessions. I also need to talk because why have they put this Friday part? I think the guys have gone to a sleeping mode because the Zarentech guys are based out of US or something. So I think they are also sleeping mode. They have made the recording to be on, and that is why they're not responding back. So let me put a word to them about this Friday part. I need to tell them to do a changes on this.
Yeah, initially they have told it's Monday to Thursday, and later on, like when I requested, they said it's Monday to Friday, so that was confusion there.
I would like to give a 1 day of gap and 3 days for you to practice. The last first week you have 4 classes, means 4 recordings you want to revise, and there will be probably sometimes assignment given. So I would definitely want you guys to also have 3 days for the purpose of your revision and practices, and 1 day for me to have a gap so that I can take, with a free mind, the weekend class also. Otherwise, it's kind of quite cramped up for me. So that is why I will tell them to remove it. If you have problems regarding that, please let me know right now. But I definitely want to have a 1 day gap between my classes on weekends. Also, I want you guys to have a 3 days gap so that you can look at the videos, you can do your practice, please practice it. I know you have a lot of work, you do a household work, you do a lot of stuff. But yes, please have 3 hours or 2 to 3 hours of timing for your own selfish behavior nature so that you can learn stuff. And learning on the fly will be always greater than learning after the sessions are over, because if you think that you will have the videos of 6 months and you will start coding, let's say after the sessions are over, it will not motivate you. At this point of time, you know that continuously the classes are happening, so you will have a motivation to go at par with the classes. So that is where you will at least start practicing. So that is the only advice that I want to give you guys. And if you want something to tell me regarding this particular aspect, please let me know.
Kaushik, I have a question about the PPT. You said that you're going to put it up, or is it going to be under the assignments and case studies as well?
Yes, it will be under assignments and case studies.
Okay, thanks.
Kaushik, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So if it is like Monday to Thursday, will the classes would be until April end or June mid?
See, my deal is very, very simple. If I can make you understand, the deal is basically to, have a whole grasping power over the language, because WebDriver is not going to take much time for you. It is all using the classes and the methods. The information and the knowledge should be on the language. That is why I'm putting a lot of effort and time to go very slowly as far as the language is concerned. So if you calculate the number.
You are teaching very good. I'm really liking the way you are teaching.
That's fine. Thank you. But my deal is basically to go slowly on the Java part, and probably if I'm taking 8 to 10, it might jump to 12 also. I never know that, because it also depends on the grasping power of a particular person, and each person has their own, their own way of grasping things. So based on that, the number of sessions might increase or decrease. So yes, if you calculate the number of sessions, if I calculate, it is probably I'll take 10 sessions in Java, and let's say 14 sessions in your Selenium, that's 24 sessions. 5 to 6 sessions on TestNG, that's precisely 30 sessions, plus grid will be 3 sessions, that is 33, plus 5, 38 sessions. If I take 4 days a week, I considered one day as one session, whether it is 2 hours or 3 hours. I don't calculate that. So if I take, if I said that probably will be how much? 38 sessions. So 38 sessions will be 4 days a week is equal to 20 days a month. So probably 2 months. 2.5 months max I'll take. 2 months is what is my deal to finish up the finish up the training. If I see that you guys are lagging behind or having problems in grasping, I need to increase the number of sessions. That's the thought process. Is that fine with you guys?
Yes. It is fine.
Okay. So, any more questions before I enter this session? I know one thing is that people who are in the East Coast will have a lot of problems, but this problem will be for another 2.5 months. So don't get stressed up too much. So the deal is basically to learn on the fly and to do exercises on the training period, because after the training period, I know people will go to their own respective routines, and you tend to actually keep this aside as far as your training is concerned, because the sessions are already over. You think that your videos are available for 6 months. I'll take my own due course of time and be a bit of lethargic and all. That is why I said that be on the fly. Probably East Coast guys have to stress out a bit because it's late for them. It's a kind of let's say it's a kind of a delivery period for the next 2 months. Delivery periods you have when you need to deliver stuff to the client, where you work a bit hard to deliver things. So the delivery period for you is 2 months, things like that, and start working on that. At least for the East Coast guy, the West Coast will not have so much of a problem because they are at a convenient time period. So that's it. Thanks very much. Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good day. Bye.